Hey everyone, Old School Pokemon here, back again with podcast episode number 17, joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan, and his special guest this week, Charmander. How are we doing tonight, Dan?
We're doing very well over here. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Excited to start another podcast episode with you. So this week we got a little bit different of a start here.
Special opening.
Yes.
As people know, the main theme of our last podcast was Vegas, but we didn't yet have our grades. So not only do we have our grades, but we have cards in hand, and I've forwarded Nick his cards. So I have my two that we graded, and he has his two.
Which one do we want to I guess I should start with one of mine.
Yeah, probably start with your, go whatever order you want. I'll probably save Charizard for last on my end.
Oh, I'll save my favorite card for last on my end. So in the first edition base pack, I pulled a Squirtle and a Zapdos. I sent both of those off to be graded. I took a quick look at the Squirtle, and I thought it would come back a 9. The Zapdos I really didn't look at. Again, I took a quick look at it, and it looked really clean. So I was, again, we didn't really look at those cards very much. So I was just kind of hoping for a 10 on the Zapdos, obviously. But I got it back, and here it is right here. Zapdos got a near mint 8. Little disappointed in that. It's a super strong 8. You guys won't see it on the video, but the only thing with this one is it's got a little tiny nick somewhere up there. So yeah, this one, Zapdos got an 8. That'll definitely just get added into the personal collection for me.
And similar to Nick, I opened a base set first edition holo. Mine was the Magneton. In the heat of the moment, I didn't look at it very well at all. Looking back at the stream, though, it was pretty obvious. You could see a print line if you looked at it closely during the opening. So I knew the 10 was out. Mine did end up pulling a 9, though. Aside from the print line, it's in pretty good shape. A little bit of whitening on the back and a print line. 9 feels fair because otherwise it's in good shape. And then I'll pass it back to you.
But it is still a Magneton, so nobody cares.
It is a Magneton, and I have a complete PSA 9 base set first edition holo set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sell off at current pricing. I'm not going to sell it off. I'm going to hang on to it for a little bit, but when the time feels right, I'll keep this copy forever. It's going to be a part of my personal collection, and I'll just sell off my other Magneton 9.
We were actually talking about that because we knew. Did we know the grades last week? I feel like we did.
For the podcast 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. I think we knew the grades, but we didn't have the cards yet.
I think we got the grades at the end of the night during.
Okay, yeah. Because I know we were talking about it, and I actually have a PSA 8 first edition base set, but unfortunately, I can't add this copy into that set because the stupid label is the newer style label. And my set has the older style label, and I am a very OCD collector when it comes to my own stuff, and so I'm one of those people who have to have all the labels matching. But I'm definitely gonna hang on to that copy.
When they go to the next iteration of labels, you can pay 16 recasing fees and get them all in the 3D hologram fancy labels.
That's true. So yeah, my second card that I sent off was the Squirtle that I pulled again from the first edition base pack. And after taking a quick look at it in the after I pulled it, I thought it was going to get a 9. I don't know, because it does. I took a second look at it, and it does look really good. And I actually got a 10 with the Squirtle, which is absolutely awesome. Really, really happy about that one. But unfortunately, if you take a look at it, it doesn't have any type of pedigree on the actual label. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but maybe I'll take a Sharpie and write Pokemon Saves the World or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually reached back out because I submitted them. The packs were bought in my name. Supposedly the pedigree was supposed to happen for any cards that graded a 10 only. So I messaged the PSA rep that I dealt with for the submission, and I never really got too much clarification on it. It almost sounded as if the pedigree just didn't happen in general. I've not seen any other cards out in the wild with the pedigree. I mean, given that he did my submission and he knows, like, if it ever goes back around to where the pedigree exists, that specific cert number is tied to the event. So like theoretically we could get that put back through. But as far as I understand, I don't think anyone got the pedigree. So it is what it is.
Not a huge deal.
Yeah, me personally, these two cards that I graded, I don't ever think I'm going to sell because looking at them is just going to take me back to Vegas. And they're cards that I own in my personal collection anyways. So like I said, I'll just sell off my other copy and then hang on to these ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so should we do a drum roll for the big finale?
Yeah, the big finale. When I pulled, I think I've mentioned on this podcast, on the stream, it was a little off center. It had a little bit of whitening on the back. It got the 8. 8 is deserved. Like, it didn't feel horrible of a card. Like, definitely not a 7. I wouldn't really say it's a strong 8 either, though. 8 feels perfectly fine for what it is. And given what we paid for the packs, getting a PSA 8 Shadowless Charizard, we didn't get our money back. But like I said, I'm not. If we had hit the 10, if I had $100,000 Shadowless Charizard, we'd be selling and we'd be making 50 grand each. But yeah, for that price, and given that I have higher graded of the same card, I have 8.5s and 9s, I'm gonna hang on to this one. So obviously I'd rather it had gotten a higher grade, but it's like a silver lining that it'll be able to stay with me now. So
yeah, exactly.
So that's
the big reveal there.
Yep,
that was exciting.
It kind of closes the book on Vegas. It's all over now. We're until like the next event comes up, we can kind of flash back in the podcast on the first one, but kind of puts that to a close now, ties up all the loose ends
until our Vegas reunion next year.
Yeah. Hopefully something becomes annual over there, because that was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a blast. That was a great time. But yeah, so that was exciting to get those back. I was happy about that.
Yeah, same here for sure.
So now I guess we can hop right into the questions if you want to start going through these. You have more questions than me, so more people are watching the podcast on your channel, which is very unfair. More people need to.
Hopefully not for too much longer, though. We'll see. I'm getting close to that 1,000 number, maybe in the next, maybe another dozen podcasts. We'll see.
There we go. I'm not gonna tell you the secret to ads with the podcast. Because if you don't like, so I guess I will. But if you when you upload the video, if you just have YouTube automatically place the ads on these like videos specifically, there's like hundreds of ads like every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And the first few podcasts that we uploaded, I didn't realize it, because when I watch my own videos, I don't get ads. So I never realized like how many ads were actually in there until someone commented saying, can you get rid of a few of these ads? So I went back and actually looked at how many ads were in the videos, and there are a lot of ads unless you go ahead and manually add them in. But yeah, so make sure to do that when you officially monetize your channel. I
forget how long it is, but I think I'm on a 2 or 3 month free YouTube premium subscription. I went for that before Vegas because I wanted to download some videos for the flight, like some podcasts to listen to. So that came in handy, and now it's like it's nice, the ad-free experience. And so if you splurge on YouTube Premium, I mean, with how much YouTube content I consume, I probably should just stick with paying it. But the way that I am, I'll probably cancel it once they start billing me. We'll see though. It is nice, and the download feature is cool.
Oh yeah, and being able to listen to videos with your phone shut off.
Yep. Yeah, because I'll listen to them when I'm like mowing my lawn, and I'll probably do
Yep.
the same thing when I'm snow blowing, and so it's handy for that.
Exactly.
But yeah, might as well get right into the questions now, right?
Yeah, go for it.
So the first question came from Sean. Have we heard of HGA? Comments and thoughts on new grading companies? So I do have a short list of new grading companies. Do I seem out of focus or just my background?
No, you look pretty good.
Oh, okay. Gengar looks pretty out of focus though, doesn't he?
Gengar's out of focus. Yeah.
Whatever. So I have a short list of grading companies that I intended to submit to 2 months ago now. I don't even remember. I've just been buried underneath other little projects and so many slabs coming back. I still want to send to them. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, maybe before the next podcast, but HGA is one of them. I think hybrid grading approach is the acronym. I think they claim to be doing part computer, part person. If anyone, I guess kind of like the standout thing for them, which I'm not crazy about, but some people seem to like, I think they do like a customized label to match the color scheme of the card. So I think they're 30-ish, maybe slightly more per card. So it just feels crazy. I have a couple oddball things that I want to send to them that PSA doesn't touch right now and maybe never will. So HGA is on my short list of companies I want to try, along with DSG. That's the one Gary talks about occasionally. And then too many 3-letter acronyms. AGS.
What was the one at Pokemon Saves the event?
Yep, AGS, auto
Oh,
grading system. I think robo grading, auto grading, they call it. They have a fully, as far as I understand, a fully computerized thing that calculates your grade. They have some app that you can download that does that too. So I talked to one of the founders at the Pokemon Saves the World event. I think they have a special going on right now. I just saw on Instagram, 25% off if you grade cards from Celebrations. So I might send a handful of cards to them, DSG and HGA, in the coming weeks just to try them out. As far as my thoughts on them, actually I listened to a Gem Mint Pokemon video today where he it was a long return video where he talked about them a little bit. I think most of them aren't going to survive. I think within the next few years, once grading, I personally don't think we'll ever go back to completely like normal where we were. I don't think you'll be getting a 750 Pokemon special ever again. Maybe 10, who knows, and some of that will come up in a later question, but I think a lot of these will die out. As far as which ones will survive, I have no idea. But like me personally, long term, I could see where the new price floor for the real grading companies, the big grading companies, CGC, BGS, PSA, the new floor I could see being 2 to 3 times higher than it was historically. So perhaps some of these companies not charging the $20 to $40 a card they're charging now, but I could see a future where people just, they like the plastic, they like the protection. I could see a couple of these companies surviving as like a niche thing. They've got the funky labels. They've got some, DSG has the app or whatever, where you can pull up and you can see by zone exactly where the imperfections are. Like that's kind of neat. So I could see them having a little niche audience, a little niche pool of people that follow them for 10 to 15 bucks a card or something. But to me, like I've had people approach me with collections. Oh, I've got a DSG 10, whatever, through XYZ 10. I want PSA 10 pricing. I'm not paying that. I mean, I look at the card as I do with PSA too. Like there are many PSA 10 cards that I won't pay PSA 10 prices on because they're not PSA 10s. So when I'm faced with a card like that, I just buy it as if it's raw. Personally, the same thing I do with CGC, PSA, BGS. So for me, I really don't treat them any differently. But yeah, that's kind of a long answer on where I'm at. What do you think about these new basement grading companies? Some of them.
I would agree with you for the most part. I have no desire or interest to grade with any other company outside of PSA and CGC right now. Because I really do think a lot of these companies are just going to fail. I think right now they're doing good just because of the situation with PSA, BGS, CGC, where it takes so long to grade your cards. And in the case of PSA, you really can't grade your cards at all unless you have something higher end. But I think once that situation calms down, which I do think it will at some point in the future, once that situation calms down, I think a lot of these companies are just going to go by the wayside and just fizzle out. So I won't be grading anything through them. I do think if they were to lower their pricing, like what you were saying, to where it's like $10 to $15 per card to get something graded, I think that's the only viable option of how they would possibly survive in the long term. They can't be charging the same prices that PSA, CGC, BGS are charging, being that they are such a new company. Really, nobody's heard of these companies. They can't be charging that premium. So I think if they continue to do that, I think they're going to just fizzle out. But if they do eventually lower their prices to where they're substantially cheaper than PSA, CGC, one of the big three companies, I think they could possibly have a shot for like what you were saying, that niche market who's just looking to grade a cheap card, get it encased in plastic. But that's what I would think on those companies.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the big three pan out too, because like right now they're a mess. I mean, PSA is still the cheapest you can do is 150. That is quick though. Like I did an order that is back already, and I sent it 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, I've had it back for a little while now. Like I think for 150 you're getting under 2 weeks, and for 300 you're getting under a week, which it's kind of crazy to be like praising them for that, because a couple of years ago you used to get that for like 25-50 bucks. We're quick.
Yep.
So that's how crazy grading is right now, that you like feel good about paying 150 and getting it in 2 weeks. So yeah, crazy times. Next question comes from Kai O. What are your worst experiences buying cards? I've recently had 2 grand parties that came and were rejected from my local grading company for touch-ups on chipping, as well as 2 mint Masaki Gengars that both were not the card in the picture. Pretty decent sized monetary hit. Try to get some rebates from Bai. So yeah, that's tough. I haven't bought from Bai like a year ago this time. Every week I was buying Scream promos, Masaki's, Burn Towers, Grand Parties. I was going crazy. I need to start looking there again. But I have heard though that it's gotten a lot tougher. I've heard that a really common thing, which is a pain and troubling, is that people have been posting a card, the front picture of the actual card you're going to get, and then like a generic back picture that's not even the card you're going to get. So people like see a pretty clean back, not many chips, and then like looking like a PSA 9.10, and then they get the card in and it's just a swapped back that's like an 8 or a 7. Yeah, it seems pretty common, and it's an unfortunate thing because as far as I understand, if you put like a claim or a return, try to get a refund through that, you just get blocked. So maybe it's good I haven't been buying through there in a while. I guess my worst experiences though, similar. I mean, buy is a gamble when you're buying cards with grainy potato pictures. But it's all like, I don't know about you personally, Kai, but me at least, I try to not look at each individual buy on its own and take it so negatively. Hopefully it's the case for you, but I've bought dozens of Scream sets and Masaki sets and dozens of at least a dozen grand parties. I try to like mentally lump them together. So every one I buy knows a gamble. You buy a beauty products grand party, you buy 10 of them. 2 of them might have a dent or a ding, or so they get the PSA 6, or you don't even grade them because you know they'll get the PSA 6. But as long as you're paying the right price and you're hitting a certain percentage or getting the 9s and the 10s that you're assuming, like it all works out in the end. Like that's where, so I've had some individually bad experiences paying mint raw prices and getting a PSA 6 because it had a really bad Masaki mark that wasn't shown in the photos, or it had a complete crease, terrible, but that's part of the game. I mean, that's why that's just part of the game. That's gonna happen. Other than that, like generally speaking, I've not had too many bad experiences buying. One of the more annoying things to me, and I haven't run into it in a while, but like buying a whole collection and then the people were like chain smokers. When you buy a whole collection,
Oh yeah,
and you open up the box and it's just like, whew. I always just like air them out in the garage for a week or two, and I use what's it called? I don't think I have any kicking around because it's been a while. Ozium, I think it's called Ozium spray. You can't spray it right on the cards because it'll like dampen them, but you spray it in the vicinity and it works really well for getting out cigarette smell. So those are probably my worst experiences buying cards.
yeah. I don't have too many bad experiences either. Talking about Bai, my one and only purchase from Bai was those Pikachu promos that came out at the Pokemon Center in Japan a couple months back. I'd never bought from Bai, or I never used Bai to make a purchase before, and I knew that these cards were coming out, so I finally set up a Bai account and bought like 25 of those cards. Just buying. I think you had to spend like $20 or $25. I think it was like 20, or maybe it was 15 or 20. You had to spend like $15-$20 and you got one of these free cards. So I did like 20 or 25 different purchases, and after the shipping from Pokemon Center to Bai, and then the shipping from Bai to me, and then the fees that Bai charged, I was almost better off just buying those Pikachu promos on eBay, because my cost basis was like $25 to $30 a card. So after that experience, I quickly left Bai and have never gone back there to look at any other things. But
Yeah,
that was my Bai experience. As far as bad purchases, there's been plenty of stupid purchases, stuff that I shouldn't have bought. My worst one of those was, I thought it was this was going way back when I was in college at the time. So money was definitely more valuable to me back then. There was someone selling a absolute ton of the 90s vending machine stickers that had different Pokemon on them, and I thought they were the coolest things ever. And I bought $1,000 worth at 10 cents a piece. So there's like 10,000 stickers here. And I thought I was going to be able to do well on them, but I had them listed on eBay for like a year, and I don't think I sold a single sticker. So that was definitely one of my worst purchases. I finally just sold them all off in a bulk lot and took a pretty substantial loss on that purchase. But as far as like an individual worst card experience, I can't think of anything. Obviously, like people buying a fairly expensive card, $20, $30, $40, and having the person ship it in a PWE envelope. That is always so frustrating for me. I actually recently bought, it was like 3 Charizard V sealed promos and 1 stained glass bird promo from when I was buying a whole bunch of them on Facebook. So it was like a $45 purchase. And the seller shipped them PWE. Luckily, nothing happened to the cards, but I can't stand people who do that. People need to stop being so cheap and pay up for first class mail with a little bit more protection.
See, to me, as long as they get to me fine, I don't really care. I bought a bunch of the full art Pikachu, like the base set, extended art reprint thing from Generations. And I've also been buying a bunch of the Greninja Gold Stars. And I bought some PWEs with like 20 of them jammed in there.
Really?
Yeah, like they make the PWE thick. Like I don't know why they don't just, because they're paying more than the 53-cent stamp.
Oh yeah.
Just put it in a bubble mailer. It would be, I don't know what they're doing exactly, but oh yeah, I've gotten a lot. But as long as they're fine, I don't really care.
No, I got pissed by stuff like that.
Life's too short to get mad over stuff like that.
I guess so. But yeah, outside of that, I can't recall any like really bad situations. Luckily, let's hope that continues.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first question is from Matt B. And he was asking about the 1099s for 2022 and how we think that will affect new sellers on eBay or PayPal if you're selling like through Facebook or whatever. And unlike you, Mr. IRS over there, always pay your taxes. I think that this will actually have a fairly substantial effect on new people who are just starting out with selling, because when you're going back to like when we were new, just learning eBay and all that, it's a fairly big learning curve that you have to get over just to learn the whole selling process on eBay. And then if you're going to throw in, oh hey, you also have to pay taxes on all of this stuff, that's fairly daunting for people, and I think that's going to discourage a lot of people from selling themselves, because there's a lot of information that you need to know. Obviously, you can go see a tax professional and have them help you out with your taxes, but it definitely seems a lot really daunting when you're a brand new seller. I don't agree with the whole $600 limit per year. I think they should. I think there's another figure that they could have used. I think 20,000 was way too high, but I think 600 is way too low. I think they should have gone like 5 to 10,000, because then you could have your average person who's just selling household items or a few cards here and there. They would be able to sell those cards on eBay without an issue. The way it's set up now, though, you really can't sell much of anything without having to worry about that 1099. But I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, I think pretty similarly. It'll definitely be a deterrent. It's unfortunate because I think the hurdle that is doing everything right is way more mental than actually like it's not that difficult. Like for me in New York, every county, every town, every state is different. But for me, it was like $35 at the county building to get a DBA, and then talking to an accountant to know how to file Schedule C, whatever else with my taxes. And it's not that bad. But with the $20,000 limit, you could almost sell for like a year or two on the side and stay below it. But for 600, you're going to get slapped with that 1099 right off the bat. And it's just going to deter a lot of new sellers. One thing, I think it's going to be a boon for consignment services. So you're going to have tax dodgers to selling stuff through consignment services and having it be heaped onto your 1099 instead of getting their own. So it'll benefit things like that, and it'll keep certain people out of it that I would argue are doing themselves a disservice. Like, start the business, do it right, couple hurdles to jump, but it's way more mental than actually like it's not that bad, especially if you're paying someone else to do it. I mean, paying an accountant, they give you more back in value if you find a good one than what you're paying them. Like, definitely. Our tax system is just so overly convoluted, complicated in the United States, and it's unfortunate. This thing, like, they're going after the little guys. I mean, people with 1099s under $20,000. That's not like going after the big rich 1%, or that's completely only targeting low and middle income people, because I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that's how they're trying to fund some of these latest things with going after small timers. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
That is a good point though, about it being more mental than actuality when it comes to taxes and all that. I remember my first year, I didn't know what to do, but once I actually figured it out, it's really, it's a pain, but it's really not that complicated. Once you get through your first year of paying taxes and all that, it's a fairly straightforward process.
And the benefits of doing it the right way. I mean, right now is a crazy time. So one of the big benefits is you have a resale certificate, whatever it's called, where you are. You can get in with distributors and you can buy stuff wholesale. Not right now because it's crazy, but you can share that resale certificate with Amazon, PWCC, eBay, wherever you buy stuff for reselling or for operating your business. You can buy it sales tax free if you're in one of the 47 states that charge sales tax. I think that's what it is. I think 3 of them are exempt. So I think there's a lot of people out there. If you're operating with a profit incentive, legally, you're supposed to be doing it above board. And I think too many people like try to dodge it, thinking they're further ahead for it. But I think you're costing yourself more than you're saving yourself, in my opinion, 95% of the time. So maybe in a way, maybe in some like perverse way, this lower thing will actually get more people doing it, and it'll like help them out more, but probably not. I don't know.
that'd be quite the turn of events there.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll some amount of people, I'm sure, like, oh, hey, 20,000 I could get. Like, some people, I know some people who would just operate like, I can do 15 to 19,000 through PayPal, and then they just stop.
Yep.
So like, if some of those people, oh well, now it's 600, I've got to go for it. If they go for it and they start doing 40 or 50 now, well, this whole thing helped them, because I mean, they're doing it legit, and they're doing double the business now. Like, some amount of people are going to be in that area. So, but overall, I think it's just going to dissuade people from starting altogether. Or in some ways though, too, like, it might take somebody who was only going to do 10,000 or so, and they'll just send it off to a consignment service, and they'll do better anyways with less time. So some amount of people will be helped by it, but overall, it's definitely still like, to me, it feels like an overreaching, weird thing for them to do. It just feels wrong.
That
Going
was
over a little guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was actually my exact scenario. For the first, it was only the first year or two after I graduated from college and started working on my shipping job. I kept like good records of how much I was making every month and where I was only selling on eBay for about 6 months out of the year. I would make sure to stay below that $20,000 limit because obviously I had well over 200 transactions with what I'm selling, but I made sure to stay under that $20,000 limit. I remember either opening my eBay store up like a month later after I got back home from the ship, or shutting it down a month early before I was scheduled to go back out. I was adamant for those first few years to not have to pay taxes, because if you don't get a 1099, you don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, I hope the IRS isn't watching.
No, that is terrible advice. Don't listen to me there.
Yeah. That's
But
a
yeah,
good
I think
question though. That is definitely some amount of people. They're gonna do what they normally do, not having heard the news, and then they're just gonna get slapped with it at the end of the year, and they're gonna be scrambling come tax time.
yeah.
Be proactive. I like, if you're doing this with intent to make money, do it the right way. That's my opinion.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely helps. It's definitely best to do it the right way for sure.
So my next question comes from Carson L. I'm debating on whether to send my cards to CGC or PSA. Personally, I like the CGC slabs a lot more, but it's hard to justify sending cards I know would get a PSA 10 to CGC. Curious what your thoughts are on whether CGC 9.5s and 9s will eventually hold value similar to PSA 10s. Never ever. So I've submitted 10,000 plus cards to PSA and gotten them back over the years. CGC, I've submitted thousands and I've gotten like low thousands back. Cards that my bell curve lands on, like a PSA 9 with some 10s, with some 8s, but mostly 9s. Those cards are landing on like CGC 8 to 8.5 with very few 9s, like few 9s, extremely few CGC 9.5s, almost no CGC 10s. But even though like it's a reality to me, like CGC 10, I don't think no one could reasonably argue that like CGC 10s are weaker or not generally stronger than like a PSA 10. In my opinion, CGC 9.5s are almost always going to be a PSA 10. Maybe if the surface upgrade is a 9 and the other ones are only 9.5s, it's more borderline. But so like, even if somehow someone could factually prove that like every CGC 9.5 would cross to a PSA 10, which just isn't based in reality at all, like it's never going to be all of them. But even if that were to somehow happen, 9.5s are never ever going to get what 10s do, because we're human beings. We like round numbers. Like, it doesn't matter. People just like 10s. 10 out of 10 mentally, I have a perfect card. 9.5 out of 10, my card's got flaws and the label tells me with a big number, and I don't like that. It's just always, that's a fact of life. And so in a way, like CGC, BGS, even a lot of these new companies, like I don't know if HGA has a 9.5, but a lot of companies are going the subgrade route. They're going 9.5 grades. People like easy grades. I'm almost shocked more companies aren't coming out with, you can't get crazy with it. If it's like a joke, if everything gets a 10, like BCCG was years ago, all those Entei promos that were BCCG 10s.
But they weren't just 10s. It was mint or better.
Yeah. So you can't get too excessive with it, but regardless of what people say, people like sending in cards and getting weak 10s. I mean, people like 10s. So CGC's always, that's a detriment to them. There's a lot of cards that I just never will send, can't send to CGC. Like you said, if it's a cheap card that I've got a million of, a non-hollow WotC that I've got 50, sure, I'll send a dozen of them to CGC, because PSA I'm not going to be able to send to them for a while, and I'll make enough profit on the CGC anyways. But if it's a card that has a 5-10x PSA 10 premium, I'm not going to send it to CGC ever if it has a chance at the 10, because you're cutting so much off your resale value. You got to try it at PSA to see if it gets the 10. And then if it's a 9, though, like if it's a PSA 9, I don't see, like, I've done it in the past, crossing a PSA 9 to a BGS 9.5. I don't know if any PSA 9 would cross to a CGC 9.5, like ever. Like early on in the early days of CGC, I cracked some PSA 9s thinking I was going to cross into a CGC 9.5, because in my mind I had like BGS. I got like 8s, 8.5s. Like I might have crossed a couple PSA 9s to CGC 9s, but not a 9.5 yet. And it's just, they're tough. So yeah, kind of a long rambly rant. My take on that. So where are you at on it?
Yeah, I would agree with what you said. CGC 10s or even 9.5s are, or yeah, no, I guess, yeah, CGC 9.5s are never going to command the same premium as PSA 10s. And it's like what you said. Plus, I also think it's because of the foundation that PSA is built. Just more people looking to collect those sets as PSA 10s, PSA 9s than CGC sets, CGC 9s, 9.5s, or whatever for right now. I do think, though, that CGC it does have to, pricing does have to increase with CGC cards, and I do think that will happen over time. It's just going to take time for that to happen, though, because right now CGC, there's a lot of cards, CGC graded cards, that are really, really good value. When you look at the likelihood of them crossing over to PSA 10s, or even CGC 9s versus PSA 9s. For the most part, CGC 9s are selling for a lot less than PSA 9s. So you could buy those cards, cross them over to PSA, and make a bit of money on them once PSA reopens, obviously. But yeah, I do think the kind of like the value gap has to close a bit, and like I said, that's just going to take time. What I find really surprising is maybe we're just too involved within Pokemon. Either that, or people on Facebook are just stupid. But there's still a lot of people out there in these Pokemon Facebook groups who there'll be like a post saying which company should I grade this card with, blah blah blah, and people talk CGC, and then other people will say, what's CGC? Oh, I've never heard of them. So there are still people out there who only know PSA and BGS. They haven't heard of CGC yet for whatever reason. So I think, like I said, I think it's just going to take time for them to kind of further establish their reputation. And I do think whenever they introduce the pop report, I do think that's going to help them. That way, you've talked about this in the past, where we could kind of figure out where that average grade lies with these modern cards, comparing PSA and CGC. But in terms of cards that I'm sending to CGC, like what you said, it's a lot of just bulk cards, modern hits, WotC bulk. All of my WotC hollows, even unlimiteds and first editions, just setting aside for PSA whenever they reopen. Even like EX cards from the EX series, hollows, reverse hollows. I got a few of those, setting those aside for PSA. The only stuff I'm sending to CGC is really a lot of modern stuff, WotC bulk, and then some Black Star promos too. Just more so like the cheaper stuff, stuff that I have a decent amount of, that I'll still make some money going CGC versus PSA. But anything higher end, I think it's best to wait for PSA if you can.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I thought of while you were talking too is I do see CGC 9s catching up to PSA 9s price wise, and in certain times even they're matching it. Like depending on the card, depending on the day, they do match at times, but they do lag. The only issue is my opinion, but I think it's kind of fact. Generally speaking, if you take 100 PSA 9s at random, just blindly, 1,000 of them, and crack them all and send them to CGC, you're not getting 1,000. Well, if you take 1,000 PSA 9s, crack them and send them to PSA, you're not getting 1,000 PSA 9s back. Some amount of 8s, some amount of 10s, 8.5s. But at CGC, you crack 1,000 PSA 9s, you're going to end up with more 8s and 8.5s than you are happy about. So that's part of the issue. Like even if in a future world where CGC 9 is on par with PSA 9, I think that could happen. The problem is, generally speaking, in my opinion, it's a stronger card in the CGC 9 case. So you're hurting your value there too.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of extended rant there.
I like it. So next question comes from Celebi Collectibles, an avid viewer of the podcast. He asks, would you ever hire someone to do work you don't have time for? Whether it's a one-time thing or of someone sorting through bulk or someone who can make scans and stuff for you on the regular. I know you both do Evo, which makes a lot of sense. Great value. But is there any work at home that you don't want to do yourself or would consider hiring someone else for? So for me, there is a lot of stuff that I don't want to do myself that I actually do myself. I've over time, I've had a few people help me out here and there. I used to have my sister help me out every once in a while, which was really, really nice. And then I've had a neighborhood kid help me out from time to time as well. Usually that stuff happens over the summer because my sister's in college, so she's in school full time during the semester. And then this other neighborhood kid that I used to have help me out, he's in high school now, so he's in school doing his own thing. So usually over the summertime, I'm able to get a little bit of help, but during the actual like semester when people are in school and all that, makes it really tough. So I'm pretty much doing everything myself, which is recently it's been a struggle trying to keep up with everything. But for the most part, it is all just me, and that's for two reasons. First off, I am very, very controlling. I like to be a part of every single aspect of my business, which is also why I really don't do too much with the Troll and Toad Evo. I do a little bit with Evo, but the only stuff I send to Evo is stuff that I have way too many of to sell myself. So, for example, the majority of my Evo is modern bulk cards, commons, uncommons, non-holo rares. And basically, I take 25 of each copy to add into my eBay inventory. Anything else gets sent to Troll and Toad. I could definitely optimize that a little bit more and send more to Troll and Toad, but that's just me wanting to control every single aspect of my business. The second reason why I don't usually have anyone helping me out is I do everything out of my house. So basically my entire, or at least my entire eBay inventory is sitting at my house, and there is a lot of cards. And so I don't know anyone who's able to come help me that I trust that much, where they know where I live, they know what I have in the house, stuff like that. So for me, it's those two factors as to why I do everything myself. At some point in time, I would like to eventually get a kind of like an office somewhere that I actually can kind of go into work. Kind of do it like an office slash store. That's my ultimate goal for the long term future. And at that point, I feel like it would be super beneficial for me to have someone come in and work for me, to either, for me, if I had someone come in and work for me, they would be sorting through bulk and packaging orders. Those are kind of the two things that really take up a lot of time for me, and the two things that I really don't enjoy. Aside from that, taking pictures, I don't mind too much. I usually sit in front of the TV, take pictures. Really doesn't bother me. Creating listings, I actually enjoy that process because I'm able to pop on a YouTube video, and just go to town listing cards, answering emails, stuff like that. I don't mind doing any of that stuff, but sorting cards and packaging orders are my two least favorite activities, and that's definitely what I would outsource. But for right now, it's just me doing majority of everything.
Yeah, hiring people is a very, Nick kind of touched on the trust issues, and then administrative wise, like if you're doing everything legitimate, it's one thing to just hire a buddy and pay cash under the table, all that, which again it's not the right way to do it. Like if you want to do it the right way, there's the unemployment insurance, and you got to have them on the books. You got to be doing the payroll taxes. You got to be doing the withholding for theirs. If you're doing it through an accountant and you're doing it right, I don't want to make it sound harder than it is. It's not terrible. I mean, people hire people all the time, and my dad runs his own business, and over the years he's had different employees, but trust is a big one. Another thing is like, one thing I used to sell was like beer steins, really fragile. Cards are fairly fragile too, raw or even graded ones. I mean, if you drop a slab, what do you do when you run into a scenario where an employee damages $1,000 item? It just like, not even partially that's trust, like you trust somebody to not, but like if and when it does happen, what do you do? Like there's added complexities and issues that arise there, above and beyond the administrative aspect. But as you mentioned, Evo, those are my employees, without the overhead, without the headache, without any, like, I don't see them, I don't talk to them, and they're just doing work for me day in and day out. Perfect employees. Um, Nick's got some cards live for me right now. He's my perfect employee. I'm consigning some through him. James was my employee the other week. PWCC is my employee every month. I'm a big advocate for things like that, consignment services. I think we have a lot of good options in our hobby, in our industry, for employees without all the red tape and headaches that come with them. There's a couple things that I outsource. Family. I think I've mentioned a couple times, I'm classified as like an S corporation. So I could actually never hire a legitimate non-family member employee. The way I'm a single, my wife and I are the two owner employees of my S corporation. So if and when, like in a future time where I wanted to like own a card store and bring on employees, which it's not in my plans. I don't really plan for that. But if I ever did have that happen, I would have to like restructure a little bit the way my company's set up. So I don't foresee it. I foresee myself continuing to use the kind of ideal employees that aren't real employees as I am now. So good question though. I know a lot of local, like I know people who own pizza places and bars and all different kinds of like small businesses around me, and employees can be tough, whether it's skimming some stuff. I mean, if hey, go open 500 packs of celebrations, well, are the hits that come back to you actually all the hits, or did some things get pocketed? Or it's a tough thing. And then just like, again, it's like say you don't like the packaging shipping part. Well, say you've got a consignment block where you sold a PSA 8 first edition Charizard for 11,000, and you sold the PSA 8 unlimited Charizard for, what are they, $600 now or something?
Yep.
We'll say they get swapped. Your first edition buyer is going to say, hey, claim, get their money back. Your unlimited buyer, you're not going to hear from them because they're happy. So you just lost $10,000. And I mean, things like that. Like there's just a lot of complexities and issues that could arise that I would never want to face. I'm happy to do things myself the way I'm doing, but like, yeah, I have family members that do pictures and sometimes breaking down boxes, a little bit of sorting bulk, but that's the way it's going to stay for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing for me is, is as nice as it would be to have that extra help. I do like doing everything myself because it keeps me busy, and I don't have, unlike you have family, kids at home. I don't have any of that. So if I don't have anything to do, I get so bored. eBay and Pokemon take up a substantial amount of my time during the week, which I actually do enjoy that because there's all my friends work during the week. They don't want to really hang out during the week. So when I was shipping out and doing eBay when I was on vacation, I would shut down my eBay store like a week or two before I went to the actual ship. And the first few days were nice, just being able to chill out, do whatever. But after just a few days of that, I got so bored because I really don't do much outside of Pokemon and eBay during the week. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. Things could definitely change there, but for now, it's a pretty good situation, I would say.
Yeah. So last question for the podcast, Dark Lava Lizard. Nat Turner just went on a podcast called Card Talk this morning and made some interesting announcements and comments. If you want to find that, I think it's called Card Talk is their podcast, but I believe the YouTube channel is called 1ONE37 PM, something like that. If you want to search that out. He confirmed PSA is opening both in New Jersey office as well as one in Europe. He also stated that they are currently grading 40,000 cards a day and would love to double that by the end of 2022. He also mentioned he wants to bring back registry grading at $10 a card if you're using the set registry, and give those PSA accounts a price break rather than flippers and resellers getting in at that cheaper $10 rate. Just curious your guys' thoughts on the direction and overall progress PSA is making, and if this all plays out as Nat wants, should CGC be worried? So I did actually go back and I listened to that whole podcast. I think it wasn't too bad, 45 minutes maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
Was I right? Is it 1:37 p.m. I believe?
I think so. It might. I think it's definitely 1:37. I don't know about the PM part though. You sent it to me recently.
1:37.
But it's definitely a good watch. I would definitely recommend checking it out. And like we said, it's really not that long. It is focused more so on the sports aspect of PSA and all that, which I didn't like the three guys that were on the actual channel. Listening to Nat and hearing him talk, I really enjoyed that. But the three guys who were doing that channel wasn't a big fan of them.
Yeah, I don't see it as being something that I'll listen to on a recurring basis. Just given what it is and generally being about sports, but it was cool. Like if they ever have a cool guest, I'd listen again. It is, I found it. Just I wanted to make sure I had the facts right for anyone trying to find it. It is ONE 37 PM. So just search that Card Talk and it'll pop right up. But I guess kind of parsing this out, and I guess we can go back and forth with like each piece of it if we want. Otherwise, I'll be talking for a long time. Um, so as far as the New Jersey office and the Europe one, it sounded as if he hopes or like envisions those, like right now there's a Japan office, but the cards are just shipped to California and then shipped back, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
His vision for this Europe and New Jersey office would be actually having graders there. So I think that's great if that's the case. One concern that comes up, I'm assuming they'd have training where the original graders to start off those new locations would either be people who relocated from California out, or they'd be people who live in New Jersey that spend like a month in California doing like a boot camp to get up to speed and like cross-checking, making sure that the standards are, because that would be the first issue. Well, now you've got people at different locations. Is the standard going to be uniform? Is New Jersey going to be tough grading? Is California going to be easy grading? Whatever. We've got the 2 cert, 4 cert. Then we'll have the New Jersey, California. Yeah. So that's like just my first thoughts on that. And then I guess I'll hit one more thing, like the 40,000 cards per day. Way like they're doing way more cards than I would have expected. They're definitely doing a way better job attacking the backlog than I would have anticipated. So I'm happy with that. I guess if you want to touch on those and then we'll go deeper.
Yeah. So I would basically just agree with you on the New Jersey and Europe offices. They are going to have to implement some type of training so that they have consistent standards in all of their offices, whether that be sending people to California or California people to New Jersey and Europe and all that stuff. But the 40,000 cards a day, I was blown away by that number. I can't even fathom seeing that many cards and actually going through that many cards in one day. And he basically said their limiting factor for grading 40,000 cards a day was staff shortage. They're constantly hiring people. I forget how many he said, but he said they're hiring like 10 or 12 new people a week. If I'm remembering correctly, which is a good sign. They've been doing that for a while, but hopefully they're able to continue doing that. And if they are able to open another location in New Jersey or wherever, I think that'll really help increase the number of people that can work for them, because where they're based in California right now, it's really expensive to live out there, and you only have people who live out there able to work there. So if they're able to open up a new location, they're able to kind of have a whole new pool of people that can work for them. So I think that'll be good. And yeah, for him to say that he wants to double their capacity by the end of 2022, it's doable, I guess. It's definitely a lofty goal there, but hopefully that can happen, and hopefully they are able to do that.
Yeah, and then the doubling, it first hits me as like a little bit concerning, just because I'm not sure how sustainable this is. Like right now, the market craves plastic at an obscene level. I don't know necessarily that this will just maintain into perpetuity. So as far as the sonic sealers, as far as like how much capital and like equipment, it's not that significant. Like it's not like they're buying $1 million machines that if the demand for grading drops 50% in 5 years. It's not like they've got millions of dollars of equipment that's going to sit idle. It's not like a manufacturing process like that. So most of their bottleneck, like you said, is people. I mean, it would be unfortunate and it would be a bad thing to have to do, but like say 5 years from now, the demand is only 10,000 cards a day. They've just got to fire. They've got to let go of 80% of the workforce or something. But that's better than letting 80% of their workforce go and losing out on the $10 million in equipment or whatever that's sitting there. So it feels to me like clearly there's some limit. Like if it's 80,000 next year and 160,000 the next year, at some point there's a limit, right? And I don't know when and where that's going to be. I feel like we're getting close-ish, but maybe we're not anywhere near it. I don't really know. It'll be interesting to see. And I would think that at some point PSA would kind of like cap and say, okay, if the market demands that much more, we're just going to be like a higher end. Like if CGC, BGS, if their bulk is 10, well, PSA is just going to be 20 to throttle demand. Maybe though they want to be high volume, low margin always. But to me, it's a weird thing because like it's the same amount of work whether they're getting $750 for it or $150 for it. And to me, it's like I'd rather be grading less cards at $150 a pop than more at $750, right? I mean,
but that's from a business perspective. Obviously, you're making more money grading cards at a higher price point, but you gotta think of. I really like Nat because I don't know him at all, but from what he's said in different interviews, he seems like he's really for the collectors. Because there are cards out there that aren't worth this couple $100 range that people want to get graded for their sets. And I think if PSA always remains a kind of a premium service, if you will, I think that's going to, in the long run, hurt their business, where people are going to make that switch over to BGS, CGC, whatever, because you can't have the complete set in PSA if they do go that route where they just stick with grading these higher tier cards. I think it's necessary for them to grade everything.
But complete BGS 10, complete CGC 10s won't be a thing either. So it's like this is where we talked a little bit beforehand and we tried not talking into it too much because I think we disagree a little bit here. The way it comes across to me, and maybe I'm just too pessimistic or whatever, but I think that him saying that their target long-term to get back to $10 per card, I think that was more to put a warm, fuzzy feeling in people. I think that isn't realistic. Maybe 5 to 10 years it's realistic, but he almost made it sound as if like it's a glimmer of hope that it could be next year. Did that come across that way to you? Like
the way he said it, I think he said
it wouldn't happen.
Definitely not this year, which is probably not Q1 next year.
Which is like insane because obviously not this year, obviously not Q1 next year. So to me, he made it feel like, yeah, this is reasonable potentially for Q2, Q3 next year, which, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 10 million cards a year. Like maybe they'll open up $100 a card and they won't get a tidal wave. But when they open up 75, 50, 25, there's a lot of barriers between 150 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, like when he says $10 a card potentially it doesn't feel real at all. I think he wants to put a warm, fuzzy feeling in people and he wants to keep people optimistic, but like that's the negative side. And then being positive, being optimistic. He did say something about tying in, like say you've got the set registry and this would be a really good advertisement and it would really get a lot more people using the registry. Like say you've got base set and you've got all your hollows. So 16 hollows, PSA 9, PSA 10, whatever you're going for. Potentially they could tie the registry into the submission center And if you've got a set underway, they would take cards that you need in your registry on a cheaper per card basis than a flipper or a business could submit through. It's an intriguing idea, and maybe every account would get so many per year. But from a business side, from the evil investor business side, why would you willingly take cards in for $10 a piece if the market's begging to pay you $20 a piece to grade them? Like, why would you not take 20 from me as an evil business? Like, why would you willingly take 10 from a collect? Like, I get it to an extent, but also at the end of the day, you're selling your services for half price.
I just think it,
to some extent, you're gonna like
the whole reputation thing, though.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You still have to. You can't be a Mr. Scrooge over there. You still have to have customer service and people actually liking your services to submit cards for to you, or to buy cards with your label on them.
Are you happy with PSA right now in general?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Have you sent them cards for $150 a piece? Did my point come through? You don't really need to have that amazing of customer service. I mean, if PSA opened tomorrow a $20 tier and they just said, F you all, like, we're going to do whatever we do, the turnaround will be whatever it'll be, I'm sending as many cards as I physically can every day until they close, because they're going to close again if they open up $20 a card tomorrow. Like, that's where we're at.
That is true. That is true.
Like, so to me, again, maybe I'm just being too pessimistic or whatever, I can't even think of the word, seeing like bad in people. But yeah, we'll see, I guess. To me, the $10 card, it's a fantasy unless things drastically change and you're talking 3+ years out. We'll see.
I don't know if it will be that long though either. I do think it'll be a year, maybe 2. But if they are expanding as quickly as they are expanding, and they're obviously shut down right now, but we're already seeing October, November-ish cards being graded from last year.
Uh-huh.
They're a lot further along than I thought they would be.
Cynicism was the word I was looking for. I'm a cynic.
You are very, very much so.
and obviously, like, they closed down bulk in March. So like when we say they're in last October now, that doesn't mean they're a year behind. Like they're 4 months behind or 5 months behind, because once it gets to March, then it's like done, it's caught up. Yeah. And they have completed regular, and they have, but like I said, right now they're only taking them in at 150. You know as well as I do, everyone's got their boxes. Everyone's got their, when PSA reopen. Like I've literally got a $100 box, and I've got a $75 box, and each one's bigger than the last. my $100 box, like I just sent 20 cards, I think, at $150 each, somewhere in there. My $100 box is 20 more, 30 more, 50 more, something like that. My $75 box is 100 maybe. My $10 box
is multiple boxes.
Is 30,000. Like, I don't even know what it is, because I would be looking for more. Like, we're so far from it. I don't even have a $10 box started yet. It's basically like every card in existence that I own. But that's why, like, so once we get to this time where they're done through March, but you got to remember too, like, people, I brought this up a lot of times, our minds are good with linear. Our minds are not good with exponential. I took some notes when I listened to that podcast. So every day from January on, and I don't know if this is business days or calendar days, Nat said that they took in 100,000 plus cards a day, every day from January on. And a single day in March, they took in 660,000 cards. So like right now, they're getting through a day of the backlog, maybe every day or two, because they're doing 40,000 cards a day. They must have only been getting about 40,000 cards a day then. Once you get into January, though, even with this massively increased scale, each day of submissions from January is 2 to 3 business days of time at their current capacity. And then that day in March that he was talking about, that one day in March of what they took in, that's 2 to 3 weeks of their current massively increased turnaround time. So if you open tomorrow for $10 a card, more than 660,000 cards are being entered.
Oh, I don't think they can reopen $10 a card like that though.
No, like it's gonna be
it's gotta be something like what he was saying where they do it. He gave a few different options.
They're gonna come. I mean, natural points are gonna be. They might do 125, but like 100, 75, 50, 25, and like right now they know the steady state. They've had the 150 open for like weeks or a couple months, whatever. They know what they're getting per day, and when that drops, it spikes. When celebrations came out, it spiked some. When new basketball set, baseball, whatever. So they're getting like a feel for what the steady state is. My anticipation is that whether they're at 40,000 a day or 80,000 a day, the steady state for that is going to be above $10 a card. If they want to give away, like if the market rate is 25 a card at their capacity and they want to just like be nice, and every registry member, they give you 100 cards a year or 100 a quarter, whatever it is. If they just want to be nice and give you a $15 card discount, that's great. And that's a better guy than I realize.
I can see it. I can see it happening.
Don't hold your breath. Maybe.
Why would he even mention that and then have like potential ideas for doing that?
People's attention spans and memory are so short and bad. How many YouTubers last year were saying dumb, terrible things that panned out to be terrible investment advice that are still around that people like aren't giving them a hard time about? People just don't like when he says that today. You get the warm, fuzzy feeling and you're like optimistic for the future and you're like happy with PSA. A year from now, when it comes time to do it, they're not going to do it and no one's going to call them out. No one's going to remember, or a few people are, but like the general thing, people are going to be so like we're so happy when PSA retroactively out of the kindness of their heart lowered the 200 to 150. Think about how like, and that was a nice thing. It was a nice thing. And like, we feel so good about getting $150 card submissions back in 2 weeks. It's crazy what we've been conditioned to like enjoy. And again, maybe I'm too much of a cynic, but we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting.
I do still think we'll get $100 a card around the turn of the year. I'm still optimistic for that, but beyond that, it's tough because it's exponential.
I forget when we talked about that. I think it might have been when we had Pallet Town and Crystal Pokemon on here. But
we put estimates out. We like time-stamped our estimates, and I don't remember exactly what mine was, but I think it was like $100 a card for turn of the year.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that'll happen semi-recently, which that'll be the first big milestone once we get to $100 per card. Sounds so much better than 150.
Yeah. 10 sounds really nice, but I've got
at some point it's gonna happen.
I've got thousands of more cards coming back for under $10 a card, so I'm happy where I'm at right now. But I'm not holding by the time I get my whole backlog back, I don't think I can send new ones out for under 25 a card. I'm not holding my breath on that.
Oh, there's not a chance that'll happen.
Yeah.
No,
But
we're not gonna see that $10 a card
Nat said,
anytime soon.
oh, definitely not by the end of this year. Q1, maybe. Like, come on.
No, that one I didn't buy, but the whole
Take his response to that. He knows. He's a smart guy. He knows. He was just, and I'm worried all of it was the same thing, but we'll see.
the thing that got me though is what made him think if he had no intention of offering something below 25, $30, whatever, why would he have those ideas? They were actually decent ideas.
Well,
and he had like follow up to those ideas. So he had spent some time thinking about that. And why do that for a random interview?
The guy that was in the top left, I think he asked some of the better questions. And I think he was the one who asked about marketplaces and vaults.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a future where, and it was kind of alluded to, and it was kind of maybe discussed a little bit. I could see a future where PSA really pumps the registry because they want you to have all your cards in there, almost like PWCC Marketplace. So you'll grade your cards, they'll go right into your registry. Who did PSA bought? WADA, PSA bought Golden, right?
One of the auction, I think it was Golden.
And Golden does have a vault. So I could see a scenario where they want you to have everything in your collection in their vault. Couple clicks, you could send it to auction at Golden or to some fixed price marketplace through Golden. I could see where so $10 still doesn't feel real, but like say the market price is 30 in some distant future, a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever. I could see them having some kind of maybe a $10 discount down to 20, where $100 or 100 cards a quarter a year, whatever it is, just to incentivize, to advertise, to get more people using the registry, which ties into the vault, and just for them to be literally, you crack the card open, you send it to them, grade it with them. They're getting the money for the grading. They're getting money for the consignment. They're like, PWCC's got a good thing going right now. When a vault member sells through the monthly auction to another vault member, and then 3 months later, that vault member sells to another vault member, like they're getting a lot of fees on the same card.
Oh yeah.
And that's a great business model, I think. And I think PSA is working something together with the registry, with owning Golden, the vault, all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely an interesting thing there. But
and speaking of WADA, did you catch them talking about that? How it was a very brief portion. He was talking about how they had acquired WADA. They're planning to keep them separate companies, but the reason they acquired them was because of the pop culture and because I forget exactly what he said, but he was comparing grading video games to grading boxes, how they're similar, and their plan is to eventually at some point in the future expand what WADA actually grades. That would be really interesting if they did at some point in the future branch out and start grading booster boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's dicey. That would be interesting though.
And then do you think CGC should be worried? I think that's the only part of the question we didn't answer.
I forgot about that. Not really. I think they handicapped themselves going the BGS route with the 9.5. Like, I think they just put a ceiling on themselves. Some relatively large percentage of the market, I think, will never be interested in CGC because they want 10s. They want Zach, Gem Mint Pokemon. He's putting together an unreplicable I mean, he some of these things in PSA 10 are pop 0 and 1. They will never that will never exist in CGC 10.
Oh no,
There's
definitely
no
not.
way. 50 years from now, come back and tell me if I'm wrong. If every unlimited and first edition WotC card had a CGC 10, I don't see it. But yeah. So I don't think CGC should specifically be worried because $10 a card isn't happening anytime soon. I think CGC, as PSA comes down, CGC will come down with it to adjust as needed. But they've got their own niches going on, and I think they'll be a healthy business at whatever scale they settle at.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think CGC has enough of a foundation now where I think they're going to be they're definitely right now they're definitely in the top 3 grading companies, and I think they're definitely here to stay. In terms of like market share, I think BGS is still beating CGC. But I think CGC is well on their way to beat out BGS. And so like right now it's PSA, BGS, CGC. I think at some point in the future it's going to be PSA, CGC, then BGS.
Yeah, I would think that the new output is significantly favored towards CGC over BGS. So it's just a matter of time. Like every day they're catching them.
Oh yeah.
As far as like graded cards out there. But I personally like CGC a lot more than BGS. And I think that's a fairly common sentiment. BGS has the black label. BGS definitely has a solid premium 9.5s on like the big hitter cards, which I don't know that CGC does because I just don't think enough of them are like I've not seen many or any CGC 9.5 base set first edition. The issue is I think they'd all be 10s. So you wouldn't cross. I mean, you try to cross a PSA 9 to CGC. One thing that they don't do that BGS does, you could send a PSA 9 to BGS with a minimum grade of BGS 9.5. CGC won't accept that. You can't do a minimum grade higher than the current grade of the card. So if I wanted, if I wanted to send my PSA 9 first edition Charizard to CGC to cross, I couldn't put a CGC 9.5 minimum. I'd have to put a CGC 9. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to turn a PSA 9 into a CGC 9. Likely it wouldn't anyways. It would be a CGC 8.5.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I forget when we started recording, but our Q&A went pretty lengthy. I think there were a lot of good questions.
Hour and a half.
Wow. Our Vegas one, we won't hit our Vegas one, I don't think, but this one's going to be pretty lengthy too.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that answers all the questions there. Oh, you should have looked at the bottom of the notes. You have the 1:37 p.m. in the notes.
Oh, I did put it right there. Oh, well.
I just noticed that.
So I guess our next or our first other topic we have listed is the PWCC monthly. I'm gonna do a more filled out video next week talking about what I sold, what I bought a little bit, and in the general format more in depth. But quick takes, hot takes from me. I like it. Not great for cheap stuff, especially when there's 8,000. So that was 3 months worth. I think our long-term equilibrium will be less. One, because some people got punished for sending a bunch of cheap crap that did bad, like me. And then 2, like not every month will be 3 months worth of submissions. So I think long-term, if it can just be a couple thousand cards, that'll be better. but I think $10 to $50 especially slabs really suffer because on eBay you just have so many more eyes, and you can get like a random person looking, oh hey, I'll throw $20 on that. Whereas on PWCC with the pre-bidding, it's tough. I won a handful of auctions when the clock hit 10 p.m. because I was literally the only bidder on a $10 slab that on eBay, like I bought some of them. I'm going to list them on eBay for $40 and they might sell. Like, I'm not that that's crazy money, but to buy a card for 10, sell it on a different platform for 30, 40, that tells you that the platform where it sold for 10 is, there's an issue with it to an extent. So I think that's kind of what PWCC is looking for, though. Like, I don't think they want to be selling 10, 20, $30 cards. I think they'd rather be half or less volume with just a much higher average item. I mean, you do consignment too. I think you'd rather get a $10,000 Charizard than $100 cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So yeah, those are all my hot takes. As far as like, I've always seen it as an event, the PWCC night. I'm going to continue to be like an active buyer and seller. I'm just going to have to be a little more selective in sending like the lower end, but every month I'll be buying and selling. I can confidently say in the PWCC auction.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the new setup for PWCC. I was actually surprised. I do think there is some opportunity there. We were talking about this beforehand, but like what you did, buying the cheap stuff, there were like 10 pages of $10 PSA 9, CGC 9.5, stuff like that, all just sitting at $10. A lot of them didn't have any bids whatsoever. So at least with this first auction, there was a decent bit of opportunity to buy those cards, and I was thinking about buying a bunch for whatnot, sell on there, but I ended up not buying anything just because I want to focus on sorting through what I have already. But definitely some opportunity there. I actually liked the extended bidding versus snipe bidding. It's tough if you're wanting to bid on hundreds of cards and wanting to keep track of all of them. But if you're just looking to go after a few cards, it's relatively easy to manage. And I liked being able to. I'm not one to put my on something that I really want. I'm terrible about just putting a max bid in and forgetting about it. So on something that I really want, I'll watch that auction and get into a bidding war with someone else. And I like being able to do that versus eBay, where it's just a snipe bid and done, which I guess is bad for the wallet, but good for PWCC. The one downside that I have with their new website is, I don't know if you have had this trouble, but I thought it was really hard to figure out how to pay for an item. And then once you paid for that item, how do you view like your invoice or receipt? I cannot for the life of me find any record that I won what I won, which was I bought a CGC 5.5 no damage Ninetales, and I paid for it the next day. I got an email saying I paid for it, but now I have like no idea where it is on their website.
It's weird, and I think they'll improve the interface and all that. Weird, like I'm a big I use the asterisk and the minus on my eBay searches, like the wild card things, and I think they're gonna work on improving all that. Like, this was the first month, so I think that type of thing will only get better.
Yeah,
I'm
yep.
pretty sure if you go to like the one on the top left side, you can sort by whether you're the high bidder or not, or I think it's just under one. Because I actually just paid today. Fine, like I paid not a full week late, but I had to sort out my doing things legitimately as a business. I don't pay sales tax, so I had to get all that sorted with them, get them my ST 120 and all that fun tax documentation. So, but yeah, overall I definitely liked it. And I think in a perfect world, like as far as bidding goes, there were a couple items like I was after the Pika trophy. I didn't get it, but like an item like that, I'm gonna follow and I'm gonna bid as I go, make like an event out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like cheap stuff, I just threw my max bid, and then if I want it, I want it. If I didn't, I didn't.
Yep.
In a perfect world, though, I think people just it encourages people to put in their max bids sooner, and the proxy bidding system does its work. And I think it does do more to get like the higher price on premium items out of like for the seller. I think it's a good way. I would be comfortable selling high-end items through that auction style.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Some
Now,
amount of people got locked out of items, like they didn't know the whole pre-bid thing, but that's just kind of like a buyer education thing that a lot more people know that now.
yeah, exactly.
So
Did you? I don't know if I don't know who posted this on E4, but someone on E4 posted something about. I don't know if it's true either. The November auction block has 6,000 Pokemon cards in it.
I didn't see yet.
It's probably like pages deep by now in the PWCC mega thread. Someone posted that they heard the next one has 6,000 cards, which I have no idea if that's true or not, but if it does, that is fairly substantial.
I hope we're not in for like that many. I hope people just like really get smacked. I think a lot of people did this first round. I know I donated 2 cards to them. So if a card doesn't get a bid for $10, they own it. And 2 of my cards didn't get a bid because they were just like complete junk. Modern CGC 8.5, 99-cent cards. So
Yep.
Hopefully that's something like hopefully the volume will just dwindle with time, with people just getting bad prices for junk, and they'll just stop sending them. Like I said, the way it was going on eBay, I was going to be sending like 50 a month forever. Now that I saw what the first month was, it might be like 10 a month because there'll be just like 10 better ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just run my own auctions on eBay or consign. I don't know. I'll have to see what I end up doing. Yeah. I know a couple guys do consignments, so we'll see.
Now, what would we talked about the PWCC block in our Patreon. What do you think the most surprising auction was? Either like a low price or a high price. Did you look at some of the solds?
There were some, like I was in Discord with some people. There were some that just didn't seem real. Like that's a nice thing about the platform too. Some amount of items were almost definitely shilled. There were so many. Some amount of them were shilled, and the people won't pay. On eBay, PWCC would ban them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can create an account like nothing.
Yeah.
On PWCC, they've got your name, your address. You can't just like, it's going to be harder to create new accounts. So people are going to get banned and they're going to stay banned. But like, I remember I was looking at a PSA 9 base first Ninetales. Recent solds were like 12 to 1,500, and it just went for like $3,000. It didn't feel real. The lowest listed on eBay was slightly over $3,000. So maybe someone just had to have it, didn't look up recent solds. They just looked up like lowest list. Hey, this is cheaper than eBay. So, but it didn't feel real. There was a couple other cards like that. I don't really remember though.
The biggest two for me, in terms of like a low sale, which I was surprised by, was the half art Pika trophy. And then
I was the second bidder on that.
What was that?
I was the second highest bidder on that.
I was really surprised that sold for 65,000. And then the sale that I was most surprised by, in terms of getting a good price, was the PSA 10 Gold Star Torchic sold for 50,000, and I heard that's a confirmed sale. The buyer actually paid for that card.
The CGC 8.5 Torchic Gold Star. That card was not nice. I don't think
50 grand for that card. I could not believe that.
That was an ugly 10.
I actually didn't even look at the back of that one. I just took PSA for what they're worth.
The card was slightly off center and definitely had some white going on in the back, and CGC 9, CGC 8.5. Crazy to me.
But yeah, those were two of the sales that I was really surprised by.
I do, yeah, I remember that now that you say it, because yeah, $50,000, that felt nuts. And I did hear that it was supposedly a big guy that pays for everything, and they're gonna pay for that too. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
for an extra 15 grand, you could have had the trophy card.
Yeah. Real rarity instead of condition rarity.
Yeah,
there's an
exactly.
upcoming another half art Pikachu, second place, but it's a PSA 8 ending on Heritage in a couple days, so that'll be interesting.
I just saw someone when we took our intermission. I saw I forget who already. Someone's auctioning a first base box though.
PWCC Premier has one.
Oh, is it that? Okay. That'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Heritage has a lot of boxes. It might have a base first, but I don't know. I can't remember.
That'll be interesting to see, because base first is taking a wicked hit right now.
Yeah, PWCC Premier is live right now. I haven't taken a look at it, but I believe there's a couple of decent Pokemon things.
I definitely won't be affording any of them.
Depending on what else is there, I might. I didn't think I had a great shot. I thought it was going to go higher than 65, but I honestly forget. I definitely put in either 55 or 60. I might have put in the 55 and then someone went 60 and then it went 65. But I was either the second or third highest, but 60 was like my. If I had won it, it would have been like, I'm super happy, but I'm also like, that's so much. That would have been the most money I spent on a card by far. So
it
would have been a little scary too. In a way, like not winning it. It's like I have $60,000 more to play with than I had planned to. So
yeah, exactly.
Didn't completely break my heart, but other than that, weird thing with PSA, we put in our notes, not grading the art academies anymore. You don't own any art academies, right?
I do not. Never will. Never have. Never will. I don't like them.
Just for the price, or
no, even if they were still cheap. I just don't like I'm not a big fan of that artwork. The chef Pikachu, the one that Rusty auctioned off a couple of weeks back.
Ryder,
that one's,
I think.
Yeah, that one's probably my favorite. But even that one, I wouldn't pay much for that. I wouldn't value that very high.
I like them, and I like true rarity. So I have a handful of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely biased. But I have them. I bought some of them at not today's pricing, but I bought some of them as recently as earlier this year at market price at the time. So clearly I like them and or thought they were a reasonable investment. But yeah, PSA, as far as I understand, they're not grading any more art academies moving ahead for the time being, because a couple artists complained. Some of the artists that so every artist that won the art academy, they got 100 cards. Some of them haven't sold any, haven't graded any themselves, yet multiple copies are in the pop report because collectors cash obtained extra copies, whether through an employee or whoever. But I actually own, I forget which ones, maybe I don't want to guess, but I own some of them with like the lower pops that Collector's Cash sold, that I'm fairly certain in hindsight now are extra copies. I strongly prefer, like, my Pikachu trophies that I own, I know who the winners were, and I like that. I like that they were like legitimately won, and I bought some of my art academies directly from the artist. That's my preference. But as far as PSA taking the stance, they're made of the same materials on the same equipment. I mean, if Pokemon, theoretically, they talked about it publicly. Oh, well, the winner will get 100 cards. They'll be the only ones getting them. But you always print extra copies for the archive. Some of the higher ups get them. Sometimes in production there's issues, so you've got to print, like, if you need 100, you've got to print some amount of extras just in case some get damaged. And then if instead of destroying them, you hand them off to all your top executives, and then a couple years later some of them decide to sell. I mean, they're genuine cards, but they're like, it's a gray area. And for me, it's just weird. It's weird that PSA will completely just trash the whole set, especially having graded hundreds of them over the years. It's a weird thing. I don't like the move by PSA. I don't like a lot of things they do. So it's just another. I don't know if you have any further commentary on the Art Academy before we get into the next step of it.
Well, no, I think you covered pretty much the whole Art Academy. I think it's similar to like the FPOs for me almost. That and like the Ever cards, where out of nowhere PSA just decides to stop grading them. And what got me more was the whole second part of that, of them removing cert numbers of cards that have already been graded. If you're gonna stop grading cards,
which they haven't done with any Art Academy as far as I know.
They haven't removed any cert numbers from the Art Academies.
No.
Okay.
As far as I understand, and I don't know if they will. On the FPO, they should have never touched those. I don't really like I don't like that whole story with those. I mean, I like Rusty, and it's cool that he got them, but like the value that's attributed to those and just the whole way that went around, I don't think an authenticator should have ever touched those. But
I don't personally like them. But I don't see what the big deal is with them grading them.
Well, like match prints too.
Yeah. I think that stuff. I like CGC's stance on that stuff. If it's a legitimate card produced at the factory, it can be graded.
But that's a thing. Like, match prints were a test thing printed on completely different stock, not even the same. Like, how do you fully authenticate that? Like, I'm not saying Rusty just made that up and printed these things on his own. I completely buy his story of he bought this binder. I think there was 2 of every one from some employee. But that, I mean, I trust Rusty, but I don't know who that employee is. I don't know that I trust them. How do you know that they weren't the ones who just randomly one day at the office printed off something that wasn't supposed to be? And I don't like match print. I don't like FPO, but like Art Academy, they're a legitimate thing that was publicly stated. And it's just a matter of some extras were made and the artist was mad because they were supposed to have the only 100. And it's weird, but yeah, getting into the next thing. That's crazy.
I thought that started with the Art Academies and then went to the trophy cards. I did. Okay.
Art Academies are
two separate topics. Okay.
It started. I haven't tracked it too closely, but like illustrators have been having their cert numbers deactivated. You search Steve Aoki's Illustrator. I don't know the certain number off the top of my head, but it's out there. Instagram, YouTube, wherever. And it comes up, like it doesn't come up, this isn't in our system. It literally comes up, this has been intentionally deactivated. That's crazy to me. I don't even know the complete history of that one specifically, but multiple illustrators have been deactivated. I've heard that some of them were traceable through Picano, however you say it, which presumably are extra copies, whether they were printed back then or some of the raw materials and equipment is still around and they're being printed today, who knows? But to authenticate a card and to be a company that has the financial guarantee, and then to just seem like willy-nilly without contacting the owners, I think just deactivating the cert numbers, like that's crazy to me. Like if I were somebody who bought one of those really expensive cards, I guess you're in a weird place because like depending on how long ago you bought it, the market value today is probably a lot higher than it was. But it feels like a lawsuit, PSA. Like if you paid $500,000 for an illustrator, and then 3 months later PSA deactivates the cert as if it's no longer authentic, they have to buy the card from you for what you paid, right? Under the financial guarantee, I would think.
I don't know. I don't understand how they could even do that.
It's
you're trusting PSA to say this card's authentic, it's such and such a grade, and then for them to kind of go back on their word after the fact, doesn't make any sense to me how they can even do that.
And I don't think the market's like I'm sure that there are people out there that would still they would buy those deactivated cert illustrators for a lot of money. I'm sure. I don't think those are too negatively affected, but I feel like PSA is probably more bulletproof than they should be. People are just in love with them, and I don't fully understand why. I kind of wish it would shake confidence some, and I kind of wish it would more negatively hurt them than it will, but I just kind of know that it won't. As I mentioned, like I own the full art Pikachus, and I know who won mine. But I think that cards like that even are subject to, there are probably some extra copies out there. And if PSA were to ever start deactivating my certs, like I don't know that I could reach out to the people I bought them from. I don't know if they're gonna like go to bat for me and vouch for me that yeah, I sold this guy the card, this is the one. And even if they did, like I'm not that guy that has multiple of the same year, same place, but like how do they know I bought this guy's number 2? How do they know I didn't swap that with one of the other number 2s that I had from that year?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like that's just so dicey and so messed up. I don't know. It's a little scary, but I don't think the market will care too much. Not too many people own those cards.
Yeah.
So if those are all that's ever affected, I don't know.
Well, it could be a good thing for CGC. Get them into the higher end market.
Yeah, because as far as I understand, again, they deactivated some illustrators, but not all of them. I think they're not taking new illustrators in. Not that like those are coming in every day, but yeah, that's I don't know. That's interesting. I think CGC's graded 1 illustrator so far, but I mean they might get a few more now.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice for us.
When Picano's printers fire off another couple, they'll have to go to CGC. That's bad.
But no, that was quite surprising for sure. And then what do you even do if you're in that position? That'd be I could only imagine how pissed those people are.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I would consult with an attorney and potentially have them send an email and see
Yeah.
where it goes, because that's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's all I had for this month though, or this week, this podcast.
Did you see Brilliant Stars, right?
Brilliant Stars.
That's the new spoiler. I had to pull it up on Poke Beach because I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, the set after Fusion Strike?
Yep.
I had not.
There's like a V Star.
Oh, the V Stars I've heard of, yeah.
That's from Brilliant Stars. So there's a
okay.
new mechanic with the V Star. There's a Charizard V Star naturally.
I don't like that card. It doesn't. I don't like the artwork on it.
I don't have strong feelings either way. It's another Charizard. It's not the best one. It's not the worst one. But it's Charizard and it's gonna sell products. So Fusion Strike seems pretty hype. We're coming off.
I think the opposite. I don't think many people are talking about Fusion Strike.
I think
the only thing it's got going for it is you got the Mew, and then you've got the alt arts.
It's got the Gengar, right, from that deck in Japan.
Yeah.
It's not like Evolving Skies level, but it's higher than Chilling Reign, higher than Battle Styles, I would say.
Oh yeah.
So when you're stringing together Evolving Skies, Generate or Celebrations, Fusion Strike. It feels like a pretty hot run to me. It feels like a solid stretch. So
it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it's coming out way too soon after Celebrations, and it's not as good of a set as Celebrations or Evolving Skies.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when I got the email today saying it's like shipping soon.
I think it's shipping with the lunchbox things from Celebrations.
Yeah, which
that's pretty crazy right there.
Yeah. That's nuts. I didn't realize it was so quick. It just seems like one thing after another. I'm trying to get caught up on my own backlog, and I got PSA subs keep coming back and new sets keep coming out, and it's like, man, we are on fire. And I was on record earlier this year on this podcast saying that I thought things were going to be straightened around with distribution by like within a year at the time I said it. And that puts us at like this new set, Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars does not seem to me like it's going to be, hey, I want 20 more cases of that, like at any time. No way. You're going to be allocated. You're going to get what you get. And I don't know when this is going to end. It's crazy. Pokemon.
I do think it's starting to slow down.
You can't for a little bit, you could get more battle styles if you wanted it.
Yeah.
But now you can't. Wave 3 is still coming, maybe.
I don't even know if they're gonna be doing a wave 3 at this point.
Wave 2 just came for Chilling Reign and Evolving Skies. I did get those.
And Celebrations.
And so, yep.
But my thing is, why are all of these products coming in at the exact same time? I don't know how does that even work? Wouldn't you think Chilling Reign would come, then Evolving Skies would come, then Celebrations would come? I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with all of this product hitting the market at the same time.
Yeah, because people only have like a finite amount of money, and it's like one set is pulling from the other. When Targets and Walmarts are still stocking later waves of celebrations, a consumer goes, they're only going to have some finite amount of money, and it's like they're buying one or the other, and they're not just buying everything.
Yeah.
So it's, I think around me, like it's very hit or miss depending on where you are in the country. But I think Celebrations has been pretty available at retail. I live in the woods, so maybe I'm not indicative of, but with Wave 2, like I noticed a lot of the pricing on like ETBs, they dropped, they're down into the 70s now on Troll and Toad, or maybe low 80s, 70s on eBay. But I don't know. Hopefully next year we catch up and we're back to normal, and you can just call up, hey, I want 4 cases of every set in print. I don't know.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the booster box pricing. I think we're gonna see a similar pricing that we saw with Battle Styles, where Chilling Reign I think is gonna drop below 100. Because right now they're at like 120, 110, 120. Evolving Skies is at like 130 right now. I don't know if Evolving Skies is gonna drop much further.
Oh, is
just
Evolving
because
Skies at 130?
I think it's getting there, like 130, 140.
I'm glad I sold all mine north of 160.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I do think Chilling Reign's going to drop below 100. Evolving Skies, I don't think it's going to drop much further.
And that's tough because like if they fall below 100, and if my distributor tells me take as much as you want, I can't take anymore because I'm buying them at 86.50 and there's no margin there.
Nope.
It'll be nice, but I think once we get there, I think they'll have to entice people into actually buying it by like returning prices back to normal. I'll like my normal price is 80, very low 80s, not, I mean, 86.50 is a lot.
Yeah. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know. I can't imagine that they're gonna say, okay, we'll give you guys a discount and you can pay what you used to pay.
Doesn't that remind you of an earlier conversation?
Nope. I don't know what you're talking about.
Why would a distributor sell to you for 80 when they know you'll take it for 86.50? Right?
Just distributors are mean though. Nat's a cool guy.
Nat is not your friend. He wants your money. No, I do like the theory. I like the persona that he puts off in podcasts. Whether or not that's real, we'll find out. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and one of these episodes, I'll be able to tell you that I was right and you were wrong.
Let's get him on this one. Let's see if we can. I'll start DMing him. I know I have seen a couple people like he's surprisingly. I know some people who are in his DMs, and it just surprised me. Like, wow, I can't believe he actually. And these are people that are like a lot bigger than me, but still small in the grand scheme of things. Maybe I'll have to DM him and see if he'll answer.
He's actually surprisingly like active on Instagram, at least. I've commented on a few of his posts and he's liked my comment.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I felt very special.
He's putting those warm fuzzies out there.
I'm gonna send him a message tonight and say offer everyone except for Dan the $10 grading.
I know. I hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast because then he definitely won't come on because I badmouthed him.
I'll have to send him a message.
Yeah.
I stuck up for him. But yeah, I think that's all I got for this episode.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's a good place to call it. We're probably at 2 hours already, so
Yeah. Yep.
we'll call it there.
Sounds good. As always, it has been a pleasure.
Yep. And as always, suggestions for topics. If there's anything you want, you can do that in the form of a question too. A lot of times, obviously, the questions will stimulate. Questions will be on like current events, and they'll stimulate a large part of the discussion. So be sure
I
to
actually
leave
got a good
your.
question for the next podcast.
What's that?
We're gonna have to talk about what we're eating the next day, because I think our next podcast will drop on Thanksgiving.
Ooh, night before Thanksgiving. No, it should be the week before.
I don't know what's it, because it's the third Thursday, isn't it?
Oh yeah. What's the date? It's the 25th. So no.
Oh yeah,
We'll be
no.
recording on the 18th.
Damn.
It's the
That
fourth
that would-
Thursday of the month.
What was that?
It's the fourth Thursday of the month, this says.
I thought it was always like the third. I don't know. Oh well.
The third sounded right when you said it, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah. Leave the comments below. We'll answer them whenever the next podcast is. 2 weeks from when this goes live, hopefully.
Apparently not Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Hopefully people enjoyed my not white walls. You got a wider angle now with my new camera, and you got some backdrop there. So for anyone who stuck around, hopefully you enjoyed that if you're actually watching and not just listening.
And be sure to leave a comment that Dan needs to get a new frame for his charity poster.
Yeah, don't mind the cardboard backing at the top and bottom.
But no, the background is looking good there.
As is yours. I like that big Charmander.
Oh yeah, my nice little Charmander playmat. And if I forget who gave that to me, but I know you're a subscriber, and if you're watching, got it in the background. Nice little Mimikyu light.
You didn't put batteries in it yet?
I did not. But
thanks for watching. We'll catch you all later.
Have a good one.